you hustle.
Yes.
You just don't do one thing, you do a lot of things. And as we heard from our previous speaker, you learn to manage all those things so that they don't disrupt your life. Life is what we're about, right?
Yes.
Do you eat to live or you live to eat? Do you live to eat or you eat to live? It's depending on your mindset. You eat to live, right? And depending on your mindset, you live to eat. So, think about that, okay? You will answer for yourself. What I wanted to talk about today was about passion. And when I spoke with Armstrong about talking, he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, my spirit is being led towards something about motivation. And the more I thought about it, that motivation led towards passion. Unleashing the passion within. Are we okay about that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Passion is something that we shy about talking about, because when we talk about passion, we think about romantic passion. When we talk about passion, you start thinking about your husband or your boyfriend or whatever is going on in your life. We're not talking about that in that context. Okay? We're talking about the passion that is in you that God made you for. Okay? Now, normally when you talk about passion, it will be described or defined as a strong emotion, an ardent love, a zeal, a desire, hope, and joy. That's how we normally define passion. So I want to spend some time, let's just talk a little bit about what that means for you and for your life. Okay? Now imagine this. Ladies could probably go to this. How many of you cook ekwang? She does. Do you serve it at your restaurant? Okay. But how many cook ekwang? I'm going to ekwang because it's one of those dishes that when you want to cook ekwang, you want to cook ekwang.
Yeah.
You understand that? You want to cook ekwang. When you want to eat ekwang, you want to eat ekwang. You look for the best cocoyams, you look for the best leaves, stock fish, kanda, red meat. What else? Palm oil, grain, Yes, the one that crayfish. Yes, you take your time. You don't even take your cocoyams to the mill, to the grinder. You take your grater. You spend time. You put your love and emotion into it. Then when it is ready, what do?
Very cold.
She does it right. You take off everything that hinders. You register with Kaba Factory. You don't even sit on a chair, you sit on the floor. That's how you eat ekwang. And you enjoy them. You enjoy the ekwang. Imagine all the time that you spend to enjoy that ekwang. The Bible tells us that God made us for His glory and enjoyment. How much more did He spend time to create you? To enjoy you? Can we relate? How much more did the Maker spend time to make you and enjoy you? Just imagine that your hot pot of ekwang is sitting on the pot. And a dog comes in and hits it over. The dog will go to the grave. Somebody comes in and interrupts that pot. You will not find it funny. Neither would I. We will not laugh about it. It will be a different story. Right? But that's what we do with our lives. We have been created. Everything that we need to grow, to achieve, to do is already within you. The question is, do you realize it? Are you living the life that you were created for? What is your passion? What drives you? What motivates you to do? What motivates you to be? I have one simple passion in life, and that's food. can mean a lot of different things. I have a passion in food, and over the years of growing, I have discovered which aspects of food I like. Okay? Now, the day my mother gave birth to me, 19th of June, I will not say the year. There is no document that came along that said, Aneh, well, let me say, Anembombunie Mundi. That's my full name. Food will be your passion. It was not plastered on my face at the hospital. But it was already embedded in my soul. You understand? So as you grow, then you know where you belong or what is in you. Okay? If I gave you a bunch of seeds right now to just take and plant, I didn't label them with anything. You go and plant it without even thinking. How long would it take to identify what is what? It would probably take at least maybe 4 years to even identify whether that tree was a mango tree, pear tree, or what. Okay? It would take time. But the problem sometimes is we get caught up in a confusion. We just take the seeds, everything, you just, wherever everything is, we just go along. You don't know why we're here, why am I going to school? Because my parents said I needed to go to school and get a good education and get a good job. Fine. You will know if that theory is true about 10 years later, whether that education you got will get you a good job or not. Okay, now even in our economic climate, you may not even get a job. Okay? And you find yourself in a place, you come to work, you register, like a previous speaker said, you're hired to come in and do what was never even prescribed. You don't even know why you're there. But you have a job that at the end of the month you go and get a paycheck. So you have no value to it. But you are walking proudly and saying that you have a job and you're doing something. Okay. So, again, I'm going to ask you, I'm not telling you the answer. You yourself will answer it. What is your passion? What drives you? When I discovered that food was my passion, luckily, at a very early age, now when I think back, I realized that when I had dolls, I had cooking sets. But the interesting thing is when we played house, I was always the one that was the cook. I wanted to cook. So I'll take the empty tins of tomatoes. We'll go outside, we'll make our own 3-stone fireside. We'll go and steal small oil. Did any of you do this? Yeah. Now it's too much Android generation. You guys spend more time on phones. You go and steal small potatoes, steal small oil. You take it, you go to the backside, you make your small 3 fire. Make sure your mother doesn't discover. You do it in hiding. That was Aneh's role, to make sure that everybody was fed. It was my role to make sure that everybody had their food. Slowly, I started finding myself more and more in the kitchen. And that's how I just grew to be around food, to love food. But then when I think about it later, smaller instances were that when I first learned the fact that it must have been in primary school. If you put an acid and a base together, you get, any science students? An acid and a base gives you salt. I came home and announced to my mother that I've discovered the formula for salt. We will never have to buy salt. We will just have to take vinegar, which is an acid, and mix it with baking powder, which is a base, and voila, we'll have salt. We'll never have to buy salt again. My mom looked at me, she was like, whatever. Then, I remember one morning, several times, you take sugar. Some of you, when you want to make your breakfast, you put your milk. Then you send your hand into the sugar container like this. You grab, a handful of sugar and you throw it inside your milk and you start stirring, how does your mother know that you put too much sugar in your milk? You see the grains underneath when you go to wash the cup. You cannot drink the sugar because it's too sweet. But then the milk too was sweet. It was not sweet as you wanted, but the sugar is all at the bottom. So I asked my dad, I first asked my dad. My dad was a medical doctor, and I said, Papa, why is it that my sugar cannot dissolve inside my milk? He looked at me like this. Ask your mother. I said, Mama, why does my sugar not dissolve in milk? You'll find out someday. The someday I found out was much later in university. Milk has its own sugars, so it's already saturated, so additional sugar will not dissolve. So you've learned something new scientific today. So, that's also strange. We tell most of my classmates will never believe that I read science. I never had the look or the impression of a scientist. So I was always going to be the art student. But then I didn't know, it sounded good, but I didn't know what I would do with it. A-levels, I read economics, history, and literature. But I ended up with food science, university, go figure. So sometimes where you start is not where you end. Okay. And I know sometimes I ask people, what do you do? What do you want to do? Well, you know, at school I'm reading history. I'm reading geography. I didn't ask you what you're reading. I'm asking you, what do you want to do? You understand the difference? You could read history, geography, even mathematics, further maths, whatever, but it does not mean that that is your passion.
Sure.
It does not define who you will become. What defines who you will become is what God has already created and put in you, and you have to discover what that is. You understand? To be able to move on. Now, in the world today, or in history, there has never been any change without somebody who was passionate about something. And the easiest one we can look at in current, well, it's maybe history or current history, whatever you might situate it, part of history, is the late Nelson Mandela. How many years he spent in jail? For what? For the cause of apartheid and for freedom of mankind. Okay? That was his passion. If you are not passionate about getting freedom, you will not spend all those years in jail. You will finally come out and say, I give up, I want my freedom. You understand? If you are not passionate, you will not invest the time and the effort that you need to do it. We look at light bulbs today, we use them freely. What's the name of the inventor of the iridescent light bulb? Thomas Edison. How much time or effort did it take for him to come out with this light bulb? There's a lot of numbers out there, okay? But he tested 3,000 designs. 3,000 designs to be able to come up to the one design that he needed, and tested 6,000 different types of materials. Now, if you're not crazy, you will not do that. After 100, you say, I give up. Like, make some other person can take and go, I'm out of correct and go. That's what passion does to a person. I've worked for years in the US as a food developer, a new product developer. And yes, sometimes you could borderline being crazy. I remember my first one of my cooking classes, the lady challenged us to come out with some bread or whatever. Now understand, I am from Africa in a European environment. So I have to recreate myself in that environment. They don't understand fufu or achu or cocoa or whatever. I have to recreate myself. So it made perfectly good sense to me that I can take a bread and put an herb in it, green spice in it, which is what I did. What you know, my lecturer about how they fit. How dare you take basil and put it with bread? I said, it tasted good. I didn't see a problem with that, but she had a problem because in her training, her formal training, bread is bread, basil is basil, or conmandu is conmandu. You don't take the two and put it together. She had an issue with that. Wouldn't you know, about a year later, that became the in thing to do, that became the style. See, I didn't introduce it, but it just simply meant that other people are thinking outside the box. See now. So, anyway, that all goes to passion driving you to become a little bit cuckoo, a little bit crazy, and you've lost it a little bit. But that's what passion drives you to do. Now, in identifying your passion, you really need to know who you are. What are your likes and your dislikes? What are the things that you like to do, you love to do? You can love to go dancing, but what does that dancing achieve in your life? There are things that we love to do. I love to sing, but I am not a Beyonce. Okay? I love to sing, but my sister here has the most angelic voice I know. Yes. That's her thing. My singing is in the kitchen when I'm cutting, trying not to cry from onions. I know, right? Okay. But we have to, what do you like to do? What do you love to do? Okay. You have to know what you want, what you love to do. What you love to do should link with what your passion is. Okay. Yes, I love to cook, but I am not a restaurateur. I love to cook, but I am not a restaurateur. Meaning what? I like to cook and create and do things, but I will not be a restaurant owner. We are off. I will not. Don't call me for service traiteur. I will not come. I will mess you up. That's not my thing. Okay. So just because someone likes food doesn't mean they can do everything, and that sometimes we often get confused about that. Okay. Now, I have a quote here from Aneh Mirabeau. It says, "None but people of strong passion are capable of rising to greatness." Who amongst you want to remain low? All of us want to be great in some aspect of our lives, am I right? So, unless you have a strong passion, you cannot get to that point. The happiness of a man in this life does not consist of the absence, but the mastery of his passion. That was from Alfred Tennyson. You have to master your passion to be happy. John 10:10 says, "The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." What does it mean to have a full life? Living a life of passion, the way God oriented you to be. Doing what you are born to do. Okay? Now, this young lady here, she was a BeautyVingence queen. Okay? Somebody in their own mind of thinking can say, "Oh, she's passionate about being a beauty queen." But is that true? She'll tell us her story later. Only she can answer that. But you have people that their passion is to be a beauty queen. And what do? They live a life of primping and propping themselves so that when they stroll down the aisle or whatever they stroll, they will get the prize. That is their passion. But does your passion impact other people? Does your passion impact other people? Is it greater than you? Now yesterday, I was traveling to Ndu yesterday to meet with some tea farmers. And we left very early in the morning, about 6 a.m. I didn't sleep the night before. So I'm thinking I'll just sleep in the car. At least I know how I can manage that and I'll get some sleep in the car. No, I get into the car. You know, the little small cars now. There's a lady, she was a young girl, she's sitting so close to me and I'm like, hey, good morning. Hey, good morning, how now? She starts. She talks. And I want to sleep, she'll nudge me, say, you see, no, you know, to me, they say, come on, mama, I know how for sale. I know say that man. See now God don't give me. Like you see the bag hold us. I got the price for me for 30,000, but I end up getting again at 15,000 for the bag. I said, well, that's true. God don't really bless you. I said, yes. When I bought my fish, person start for me. You can't tell me say you wanna. I tell you say now 1, 2. Tell me what you get more arrange and not tell me say you the job work and go. It's not stuff and I bought my fish. I want to see some person. I see some customer. I say, hey dear, how you lost? I want to see a woman Tony ask I say, you did come my master. I say, dear. So you know what I discovered? She had a natural gift of selling. She could even sell ice to an Eskimo. That is a natural gift. Then she said something key, some key things to me. It's as I did so no. I don't know how to read book. Wow. I come out class 4 for primary school. I don't work babysitter. I don't work house girl. I don't say sharp. I come out, I go find myself for Douala. I follow some of my country, but they are here, they only talk na country talk. I go stay with them, and then I help their sister. I sell sharp 4 months, I get money, I move on to the next thing. And now she's installed, she's boiling her fish, but she's doing a lot of things. Class 4, education. She says, the girl where they did help me with big book where you say, come on university, I give number for Aneh, of Adam. I say, you know something, sister, I don't lie you. I don't feel a number for my head. They love me. I say, not true, I don't lie. And it's true. I cannot do mental arithmetic. I always failed it. Failed maths. But I ended up in science. Not exactly. But you know, she is naturally gifted with numbers. There's no doubt about it. So I looked at her and I said, you know what? I said, God will really bless you with some gift where no other person around you get. Sure. Even if you be go school, even if you be finish your university, you go see enough for duty where you convince people for be able for buy. That is because she has a natural ability to use numbers wisely and to have and a gift of selling or to convince people to be able to buy. She recognizes that customer service is very important. She did not learn that from the school. She recognizes that being friendly with people is very important. That is a naturally given thing. That's a natural ability. Each one of you has a natural ability that God created you with it. You have to discover what that ability is and use it. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's clear. There's also an artist, Walter's Angle. I don't know if you know him. If you've ever been in his studio, you will be amazed. I remember going in and I said, you know, I have this image of I described the color that I wanted, described what I was seeing in my mind's eye. 2 days later, he calls me, can't check that since I did. Lo and behold, I went to check the painting. It was exactly what I was thinking. He has the ability to transform on canvas. I can't even draw a chicken with 2 legs. I can never do that. But it's his ability to do it. You see, in the food world, for me, when I used to work with a lot of marketing people, they come in and say, we saw this product that looked like this. They describe it. We are not sure how it tastes. It tasted something like, they paint a picture of what it is they want. I go and put it together and call them back and say, here is what I have. Is it close to what you're thinking? That is it. That's the product you've done. We want. Like that, I did some products for Nestle's, their specialty food division, and a lot of other companies like that, where the marketing person would just walk by and have a bright idea, as I used to call it. Now, just because I had a passion just did not mean that I will go to sleep, wake up, and I'll be able to do that. You have to train and develop that passion. It's in the course of my education that I realized that product development, coming out with new things, is my skill. That's where my gift lies. And that's why you see I will do recipes like palm wine chicken. And somebody say, Aneh, you crazy? How you do the palm wine chicken with chicken? I said, just try it at home, cook it, and you'll testify. And then yesterday, it was the day before, Friday, I'm walking in Kati. This lady, she was roasting corn. She said, I said, you don't come out house, you don't bring my own that chicken where you cook and man taste that. What chicken was I cooking? So I'm like, oh yeah, you watch that program for television? Yes, it's a me for backside. At the wash clothes. Picking the inside house. I said, what was the child doing? He said, did he cook chop for TV beginning now more for outside? He said, yeah, as in the maker, so I lift the window blind. I run go see what the beginning do. The looker. I want to look, I see the frying and chicken, it was pork, actually, it wasn't chicken. They put pineapple inside. Me too, I stand look and so water come on my mouth. So I said, Mommy, no worry, Sunday go carry your taster. Just be keep look at. So that is why I can think outside the box. Like Mr. Bayo said earlier, do not do what everybody is doing. Yeah. When you do what everybody is doing, it means you don't even know who you are. Yeah. Sure. You just want to copy somebody else. God made you 100% you. You can only be 80% another person.
That's true.
Probably even only 50%.
Probably not.
So you need to discover who you are to be 100% you. And every time you step up the plate to do something, you do something different and unique that is uniquely yours.
Sure.
Okay? Oh, I've even lost. So, in developing your skill, what holds you back the most of doing what you have to do is yourself.
Fear.
Fear. Why? People would think you're crazy. I'm sure when Mr. Walter started painting, somebody said, you just said I think I'll take you go outside. Go school. We go show with this and you draw picture. But if you see what he does, honestly, you'll be amazed. Even the price that he charges for his painting, you pay, but you're still like, man, I think he really deserved a little bit more than that. Because it's his gift, it's his talent. And when you develop that passion, you develop that skill, you develop that talent. Yes, you may have a good voice and you have singing to do deep inside. But just because people have told you that they cannot give you an album or you cannot produce, doesn't mean that you stop. You continue singing. The day that it's your day, you'll be discovered. And it doesn't matter who and how. The one story I recently heard, this Ariana Grande, I think is her name. Some of us are familiar with her music. Or was it Minimal? Well, anyway, she's a star. But how was she discovered? She was known in the town as the person that sings the national anthem at all events, all sporting events. Then one day, somebody says, hey, you have a good voice. We wrote this song, please sing it for us and let's record it. That was done. Then the person that delivers boxes, the UPS guy says, you know, I know somebody who knows somebody who, like 3 people down, who is in a recording studio. So this UPS guy takes it and gives it to that somebody who knew somebody, 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 and now she's a star. Because when they heard what they heard, they were pleased with it. So you have to be ready. Train yourself. Learn. Study. Read. We use our phones only for WhatsApp and Facebook and selfies and backsies and Aussies and all whatnot. Use it to search on Google.
Yep.
It's your mobile library.
Yeah.
Find out, study. Even if it's you love dancing, take it beyond dancing at the club. It's your passion. Study dancing. Where can you do that? How can you do that? What type of dancing do you like to do? There's like a million types of it. What do you do best? Train yourself in it. There's a lot of schools in Bamenda these days, so you can find a place to get trained. And one thing, when I talked about being 100% you, when you're 100% you, you become authentic. You know that this is what I'm getting. This is Isidore, this is what I'm getting from Isidore. This is Mr. Mike, this is what I'm getting from him. If he's yes, he's yes. He's no, he's no. He'll do it, he'll do it. If he can't do it, he can't do it. Who you are, when you are 100% you, you are 100% authentic. You can never be another person. When you try to fake it, that's when the problem comes in. You want to pretend that you can do it. You want to pretend. But that pretense instead comes off as fake, made in China.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of all, what is your vision? We talked about setting goals. But what is your vision? You have a passion. What is that passion? What is your dream? What is that passion supposed to do in your life? What is that passion supposed to take you? What is that vision? And it changes because you grow. You become different things. God has you at different places at different times. The one thing I've learned over the years is when I'm at the crossroads. Imagine you're at the Four Corner Bambili. You know that you can either go straight to Babanki, you can go the other way to Bambili, you can go into Bafut, or you can come back to Bamenda. Imagine that you find yourself in a position like that in a town where you don't even know where you are. But you know where you came from. But you don't know if you're supposed to go straight, left, or right. What do? That's what I call it when you call me a crossroads. One thing that has helped me tremendously is keeping a journal. You write down daily things that are happening in your life. You write down what you're thinking. You write down. That's how you can look back and know where you might have, what God was telling you or what was within you to go. It just so happened that as I was putting this together, I turned back to one of my journals that I was keeping. I spent a long time in hospital. That's another topic for another day. But when I was writing that, I was writing in my downtime because God had me literally down. I look back, one page, I saw the plan for my food show. Because you write it and you keep it. But the thing is, when you write it down, you are speaking to yourself, and it comes to start manifesting within your soul. And you do things in that line. It's in the back of your head. So you start researching and doing things, and so all of a sudden you find yourself in a place that you wrote about 7 years ago. You understand now? I look back and I saw it. Yeah, I actually had scripted everything how I wanted it to be. And then a friend of mine, she was included in that plan. And so I called her and I said, now, you know what? God has a message for you from me. She said, oh Lord, have mercy. And I said, I wrote about you helping me out 7 years ago. That part has not come to pass. So you have to fulfill it. Everything else has come to pass. She said, okay, Aneh, I've heard. So, but write things down. What do you want to do? No matter how silly it sounds to somebody's ears. Because I remember the first time I mentioned it, it was like, oh yeah, right. No matter how foolish it sounds, it would sound to somebody who doesn't know you as foolishness. But to the God that He created you, you know that it is His plan for you. Okay? Now, having a dream that is beyond reason is nothing more than a wish. I could dream now. I love classical music, but I cannot play the piano. I have no desire to go and sit and start learning how to play piano right now. It's not in my plan of activities for the rest of this year and 5 years. So if I'm all of a sudden wishing that I can play the piano right now, I'm just crazy. That one is just, that's plain craziness. Okay? So know what your wish and your dream is. Is it bigger than you? Now, Martin Luther King, we've all heard his famous speech, right? But here's what he says. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends. And so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation that they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. What is our dream for our nation today? What is your dream? How does it impact your life? How does it impact other people's lives? Your dream should be bigger than you because you cannot bring it to pass. You alone cannot make your dream happen. You will rely on other people who have their own dreams. And that's how the world works together. I alone cannot bring to pass the Aneh's food show. I have somebody whose passion is in photography. Somebody whose passion is in managing things. Somebody whose passion is in counting money and finances. That forms a team. And when everybody is living at their full tilt, that makes a winning team. That's what changes lives. That's what changes the world around us. What is your dream? How big is your dream? How big is your passion? You have to answer that for yourself. What has God created you to do? Now, to my surprise, I have a bowl.
Can I help you?
You sure can.
Okay.
What am I holding? Can anybody recognize this?
Thanks.
It's an egg, right? It's an egg. It appears as a color of black. Okay. Naturally, eggs do not appear black. A black chicken lays white eggs or brown eggs. Those are the 2 standard colors of eggs. Now, you may want to change your outer shell to be whatever, because you don't like the passion that God has in you. You don't like the dream that God gave you. You don't want to go and help people starving in some unknown dirty place. You don't want to go and work somewhere that, you might have accidents with snakes. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. I'm lazy. I need my rest. I need my this. You disguise who you are. But does that change the fact that you're an egg? Absolutely not. So even if I were to crack this egg open, it's still white inside. And until you submit yourself to your Creator, before you will be able to live in true authenticity of who you are. Okay? And so trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In everything acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. Okay? Imagine if Abraham refused to trust in God. He trusted in God and saw the reward. The Israelites did not. They questioned God. And they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years until the generation passed, and a new generation came on that took them into the promised land. What are you going to do? Are you going to be Abraham, or are you going to be the Israelites? What are you going to do? What is your vision? What is your hope? How are you building your world? How are you going to change the world? You have to decide for yourself whether you are an Abraham or a rebellious Israelite and wander in the wilderness for 40 years. Okay. So my dear friends, again, you can only be 100% of you when you know your vision, you have your passion, you know where you're heading. You can at best be 100% of you, and we can all change our nation, change ourselves by being 100% ourselves. Thank you. Well, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I'll just tell you to keep watching, and it's full show how to make eggs. That is actually a system of coloring the eggs that gives you the color. I could have used I intended to have blue because of blue, but I got crazy with my color and I ended up with black eggs.
Okay. You see red and blue and
Wow.
green. No.
Another it's green.
No, it's not. Hi, Aneh. My name is Anthony Gafford, co-founder of 2N. And what I want to say is congratulations for that talk, because I'm also someone who's very passionate about what I do. So I just wanted to say, for those of you who are doubting what to do in life, that don't know your purpose, look into your passion, and you'll find your purpose.
A question? Okay.
Okay. Well, she has a hand and there's a hand behind. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Ruth once more. I wish to know, in a normal, should I say, Bamena setting, our parents are these very strict parents that don't want the children to derail. They see certain passions as something like going to expose a child so much to the world, going to lead the child astray. Now, I have this passion of modeling, like face model, and whatever I study, I try to I have the passion of communication, that's what I should say.
Okay, yeah.
And I see I can communicate in many ways. And I think photo modeling is one of these ways to communicate. Currently, what I study in school is in the line of communication as well.
Okay.
And now my parents on their part, they see this aspect of my communication like exposing me so much to the world they don't want. Now, how do I do to get this passion without being so recalcitrant to my parents or to those who are taking good care of me? How do I do that?
Okay, excellent question. Now, good thing you're in communication. You realize that it is communication. Now you need to understand, and I don't blame your parents, because the modeling world does portray people negatively, like half naked or whatever, indecent dressing and things like that. But on your part as a communicator, how can you communicate a message without being indecent? And let your parents understand that. And secondly, how their main worry is not only that, but also what kind of a living would you make out of it? Does it pay? It go pay your rent. You understand? But then that notwithstanding, it's up to you to do your research on that. If someone wants you to model, you need to have it on paper that you're not taking off your clothes. You're not exposing your
No,
no,
it's like a photo model.
It's a photo modeling, but sometimes it can be misconstrued. Yes, even if just the way she puts her face can send the wrong message. But you also need to be able to choose and be able to say no. No matter, I can give you millions and say, I want you to post like this or post like that. You need to be able to know yourself enough to walk away from those millions. If it's not what God would be pleased about, don't do it. because you will not be pleased with it, neither would God. And God gave you that gift and created you for it and created you for His purpose, that you should have life and have it in abundance. If you are not happy with it, you are not living life in abundance. So you have to be careful. You need to research it and understand what is creative about it, and make sure you communicate that properly to your parents. And make sure you're already in communication, so you're already training in that field, so you would even understand better. Okay, there was a hand. I'm sorry. Yes, you, then will come to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so much impressed about your presentation. My name is Dr. and I've learned something among the youth in Cameroon. Passion is very good, but many youths don't understand the word passion. Talk less of knowing what they don't really know. So if there's an area where we can have something like mentorship, that's what brought me up to the level I am today. When you have mentorship, it can really help you to build up your passion. If this forum can come up with that level, then the youths that are here can easily know where they are focusing on. In the next 5 years, you can see the good result that will come out of it. Thank you.
A very good point. Mentorship is very important. Or in some cases, looking up to somebody that's in the field that you are. So stop using your phones only for WhatsApping and Facebook. Do your research. You might even come across somebody who is not even in Africa, but that can mentor you and advise you and counsel you in your area. So now the world is broader than back in our day. It's much broader, so you can always look outside to find that person you can connect with and discuss and talk with. There was a hand behind that.
Just to add something to what you said.
Okay.
One minute. Tony.
Yes, sir.
Aneh, Armstrong, I'm just going to pick up my generation. I think Fred. You guys up to that very lucky. You're very fortunate that the world has changed. Mindsets have changed. Parents now allow you guys to do whatever. I think Mami Mundi is here. Mami Mundi is here, and I know what parents used to think way back. You want to go to modeling. That's madness. You want to go to presenting, as a presenter. No, you're crazy. They have their own mindset, tilted towards a particular order. You could be teacher, my boss.
Lawyer.
You could be lawyer, my boss. Doctor. The parents are so liberal. Things have changed. Now, I want you to go and do it. They allow you to do whatever you want to do. So, take all of that. That links you now to your passion because they are more liberal today. So, thank God for your generation. You are blessed.
Go ahead.
I just picked from what she was saying. And then the answer you gave, I had a little worry, especially with the mention of the word decent dressing or dress indecently. I have this thing I've always believed in costuming. I believe we watch a lot of sprinters, this school run. You see long jump and all the others, what they put on. That's the costume for the event.
Exactly.
Which they put on. And I'm sure if a girl were to put that on the street, you say, wow, this is crazy, this is indecent. But right in that field, we have no problem with support them and stuff. Exactly. So, in line in modeling, I don't know what you would advise if a child is to say, okay, I'm going to modeling, and then the image that comes to the mind of the mother is that picture. Now, if you have a child who is into the sports event and she puts on the same stuff, okay, but that picture doesn't come to her mind because it's the sport thing that comes to her mind, not that stuff. Then now, when that same picture, she flashes that for the child wants to be a model, in that same outfit, she has a problem with it. So, how do we balance that?
Yes, again, it's good that you said that in that context, okay? In the context of where you are, that plays a key role. And sometimes the problem comes in now when you try to cross the two. Now, keep in mind that when you're talking about modeling, what comes into mind instantly is that you're getting dressed to be admired and to be looked at and to be gawked at and a lot of people, okay? But when you're talking about a sporting event, you're getting dressed for an event to do something, to run. You cannot run in a kaba, or, you understand? There's a specific dress code for that event, okay? So now, the problem comes now in our thinking. You understand? Now, you can actually model. That's why I was commending her for being in communication also, because you can model something thing without being indecent. Okay? You can even model scantily clothed people without even being indecent. Okay? And that is where you come into the position where you're working with people that have a passion for photography, passion of art, that are also geared in that mindset. You're not just going to take a piece of thing and strap it around you and take a picture and call it that it's modeling. No. Know yourself. Know what you will say yes to and what you will say no to. If somebody came and proposed you 5 million to do a picture that is good for Playboy, will you accept or not? No. That is your call. But you need to know the consequences of what happens if you accept that kind of a modeling. Okay, can you live with it or not? Sure. You have to accept the consequences of it. Outside we're talking about being popular or being celebrity. So you can actually be negative. You can negatively become popular, or you can become popular the right way. Cameroon Tribune all of a sudden has a picture of you naked. That is being popular the wrong way. You understand? So you need to know yourself and know what you stand for. Okay. I don't know if I touched.
One last question, please. Okay. One last question, I think. Maybe. My name is Awamai from the African Dream Network. Passion is what drives me on. I mean, if I get out of my bed in the morning, it's about passion. I'm passionate about what I do. The African Dream Network, okay, I'm crazy about it. I'm crazy about every other thing we do under the African Dream Network. But now, my experience with young people of even my own generation around is that truly they are passionate. They are very passionate, but on the wrong things. The wrong things in the sense that, well, to you and me, you might be right. But when you take that into the context of the age in which we live, they become irrelevant. They are passionate about things that are not productive.
Exactly.
So how can we guide them? They need that orientation.
Okay, I would take that back to what Mr. Bayo said earlier. Time management. What is important and relevant in your life? If it's not important, if it's not relevant, it has no priority in your life. So that is where the younger generation need to understand that clearly what is important and relevant today. Somebody said education. Therefore, fun takes a second seat. It's not something that you spend your time doing more than education. Okay, so yes, we have people that are passionate about the wrong things. We have passionate people about WhatsApp and Facebook and all of that stuff. You need to know how to orientate your mind. It's not going to pay your bills tomorrow. You understand? So therefore, you need to invest that desire, that strength, all of that energy you're putting into the wrong things to now discover what is good. And when you talk about mentorship too, in that way, that's where it starts tying into orientation and orientating us into the right direction.
For example, you have, I'm very concerned about orientation. Orientation, because there are certain things we go to school to study today, they have no place in our society, to be honest with you. No, come on, if you go to school and you won't get a degree in history, you end up teaching history. But I'm like, how many history teachers actually in?
But let me just, because we have other speakers, but just to touch on that, because there's a lot of us going to school that are studying subjects. Meaning a lot of us studying subjects. Okay. Now, the question is, if you truly wanted to study history, therefore it has a relevance in your life. Yeah. But how is that history applicable in your life? There are a lot of things that historians do and can do that we don't think of. That's why I say spend your time researching the right things, okay? So let me not cut into other people's time, so we can discuss more about this later. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, live and direct from the kitchen of Aneh's food show.
Who is courageous enough?
I am.
My kids show. solutions.
You could just say it around.
My kids.
While the egg is going around, just to say something to attest to the fact that she's a professional at what she's doing. The first time in my life, I heard that beans can be cooked with Guinness. Can you believe that? That's one of the most delicious things I've ever tried. Yes. From the kitchen of Aneh's food shop. We were doing a photo shoot in 2004 to launch the Aneh's brand, and she surprised the production crew with beans cooked with Guinness. So tasty, so healthy. Yes. Well, that's just to tell you how creative she is. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are at the third edition of this BeautyVingence Leadership Forum, and we have 3 more speakers to come up. That was Aneh Mundi, the executive producer and creator and host of the Aneh's Food Show and the founder CEO of Creative Food Solutions. So we are moving on now to the next speaker, a gentleman.
It's a talk show, but we usually do it like in a studio.
Oh,
I thought maybe it's an organization. Oh, really?
Okay.
All right. Back to focus.
Yeah.
Let's welcome on stage Mr. Javnui Jobets. He's going to be speaking on leadership. And he's going to once again introduce himself very briefly.
I didn't want to take the risk.